You ever notice something kind of strange? That the people we need the most in our lives are often the very same people who can hurt us the most? It's this wild paradox of being human, isn't it? We're wired for connection, we need each other, but somehow we keep wounding one another. So let's dive into this with a story that, I promise, might just change how you look at every single relationship you have. Yeah, that's the big question, right? It's a puzzle we all wrestle with. And the answer, believe it or not, can be found in a really simple story about a group of porcupines just trying to make it through the coldest night of winter.
So to get there, our story starts in a small village, a place where people lived packed and tight, side by side, but they were hardly ever at peace. This village was basically a perfect, if painful, mirror of that human struggle we were just talking about.
I mean, can you just imagine living there? Every day was just steeped in bitterness. Mornings would kick off with arguments, and evenings would just end in this heavy, resentful silence. Neighbors would fight over the absolute smallest things. You had families living right next door to each other who hadn't spoken a word in months. You could literally feel the conflict in the air.
The village head, the sarpanch, he saw it all, and he understood the problem perfectly. He knew this wasn't a fire you could put out with water. It was burning on the inside, fueled by those two things that just rip relationships apart: anger and pride. And the worst part? He felt totally helpless to stop it.
And then, just when things seem hopeless, you know how it goes in stories like this, a catalyst for change shows up. A wandering sadhu, a holy man, just walks into the village. He has nothing but a simple staff and this deep sense of calm about him. Well, the village head sees him as a last hope and practically begs him for some kind of solution to all the hatred that's tearing his people apart.
The sadhu agrees to help, but his approach is, well, it's not what anyone expected. He doesn't give some big lecture or a fiery sermon. Nope. Instead, he just gathers everyone together under a big old tree and starts to tell them a story. A story about porcupines.
He tells them about a winter that was colder than anyone could remember. The porcupines were shivering in their little burrows, and they just knew that if they stayed alone, they weren't going to survive the night. So one brave young porcupine suggests the obvious thing. Hey, let's all huddle together for warmth. But this led to a terrible dilemma. As soon as they got close, their sharp quills would pierce each other, causing a whole lot of pain.
And this is where the story just brilliantly nails their impossible choice. On one hand, you've got the pain of being close, getting wounded by the very ones you need to stay warm. But on the other hand, you've got the pain of being distant, the absolute certainty you'll freeze to death, all alone. It's a choice between two different kinds of suffering. Sound at all familiar?
So, what did they do? Did they give up? No way! They didn't! They tried again, but this time, they did it with more awareness. They adjusted. They learned to kind of shift their weight, to lean just so, to find that perfect sweet spot, that balance. And by morning, they had made it. Now, they weren't totally unharmed. They were a little scratched up, for sure. But they were alive, and they were together.
So after he finishes the story, the sadhu just pauses. He lets that silence hang in the air for a moment. And then he masterfully connects this little animal fable directly to the villagers' own lives.
This right here, this is the core lesson of the whole story. The porcupines didn't choose between being totally enmeshed or totally isolated. They found a third option, the right distance. A space where you're close enough to share that life-giving warmth of connection, but you're just far enough away to avoid causing, or receiving, those deep, unnecessary wounds.
The sadhu then turns this whole lesson into a gentle, but really piercing question for the villagers. And it's a question for all of us, isn't it? Aren't we all just like these porcupines, trying to figure out how to get close to others without getting hurt?
He made the metaphor crystal clear. He explained that our quills aren't actually on our bodies. Our quills are our words, especially when we speak them in anger. They're our unchecked ego. They're our stubborn pride. These are the sharp things we use to poke and wound each other, a lot of the time without even realizing we're doing it.
Think about it. In that village, everyone was just trying to win, to prove that they were right. But the sadhu pointed out something so profound. When you win an argument but you break someone's heart to do it, you haven't really won anything at all. All you've done is made the distance between you even colder. And the story, well, it had this huge impact. You could just see the light bulbs going on over people's heads. The villagers finally understood the real source of their pain. And the lesson wasn't about becoming perfect. It was about remembering a simple image to help guide their actions.
And this part is so important. It's not like the villagers suddenly lost all their quills. They didn't become saints overnight. What really changed was their awareness. They simply learned how to adjust, just like the porcupines did, to be a little more careful with their words, a little less driven by their pride. So, when you boil it all down, this is the choice we all face. We can pick the cold safety of isolation. Sure, it protects us from being hurt, but it also starves us of love and support. Or we can choose the warmth of a careful closeness. And yeah, that requires work. It requires patience and awareness and forgiveness. But what it offers in return is the incredible gift of belonging.
So what does this adjustment actually look like in real life? It's the small stuff. It's pausing for just 1 single second before you let an angry comment fly. It's learning to say you're sorry, even when your ego is screaming at you not to. It's forgiving someone, not for them really, but to free yourself from having to carry all that bitterness around. It's all about those small, conscious shifts.
And that's the takeaway. That's the whole thing. It's a simple phrase you can carry around in your back pocket. So the next time you feel the sting of someone else's words, or you feel your own quills starting to rise in anger, just take a breath and remember the porcupines. What if finding that right distance isn't just a nice idea? What if it's the true secret to love?